So just going to start off and say here that I'm not the biggest Eminem fan. Honestly think a lot of his best material is quite overrated. He does have some amazing and excellently written songs. Mostly his singles. I think he's one of those artists where I personally feel like the singles were always the best songs he came out with. But other than that, not that into him. Don't want to get into his albums too much now because I don't want the Eminem fans to like shoot me down and tell me I'm wrong about my opinions on his albums, but honestly I'm just not that into them. As hip hop as a whole, honestly, there are way better albums out there, especially from the 2000s and even this decade too, because he's had a few albums this decade which really weren't that great, in my opinion. So, you know, he just isn't essential in my hip hop catalogue, honestly. And a lot of people, particularly his fans who have been following him from day one, said that he returned to form on the Marshall Mathers LP2, and because it was much better in terms of songwriting, lyricism, and the music wasn't quite as radio friendly, even though most of the singles were exactly that, to be honest. But he'd gone on a bit of a run of like terrible albums that even Eminem fans now don't care about. So a lot of people have basically been saying he's falling off. He's falling off his perch. He's not really at his height of his best days, which happens to the best of people. You know, everyone gets to the height and then falls off a little bit. But Revival is falling off the highest possible mountain and just like hitting every rock and hitting all the dirt and all the sharp edges on the way down and continuously doing this forever. Like, you never end off this mountain. This is like falling off a fucking into the abyss. I don't even know what I'm saying, but this is like falling off, but like the hardest fall off you could ever think of. This is like making me question how you can call someone one of the greatest rappers of all time when they actually put together an album that sounded like this and released it. Like, you can't, because no great rapper of all time would do an album that sounds like this. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm being too harsh, so I'm just going to get the positives of this album out of the way first, so here goes. Okay, now we got the positives out of the way, let's just go straight on to the negatives, because there are so many fucking negatives of this album. Seriously, the production. First of all, the production. It basically, like, tosses and turns, like it flip-flops between Papa Roach and then, like, sappy Macklemore-esque piano ballads. Like, that's the sort of criteria for this album beforehand. Like, he thought they were the two he was going to go for, and there isn't really any in between at all. Of course, there are the obvious radio-friendly hits, like the track Walk on Water, which kicks off this album with Beyonce. Honestly, the Beyonce chorus is okay. Eminem's lyrics, I suppose, are very personal to him, but I just have no interest in any of the bars he comes out with here, honestly. It just sounds tailor-made for, like, a radio track, like, radio filler. Like, honestly, a lot of these tracks that are that style sound radio filler. And then it's like he came out with this track and just thought to himself, you know, I'm just going to do most of the album like this, with just different vocalists. So let's just get Ed Sheeran, okay? He's going to do the exact same thing Beyonce did, and then I'm just going to do the verses, just in a very straightforward verse, chorus, verse way, with no added extras that you might get from Eminem from time to time, where he often comes out with some really, like, outlandish lines or unique flows, like, but here there's just none of that. And mark my words now, River will be a huge hit in 2018. A lot of people will want Ed Sheeran on an Eminem track because of how popular both artists are, and Ed Sheeran's just sounding his usual here, honestly. And then, again, we get a same track with Skylar Grey. Now, he just continues to put Skylar Grey on his albums, and honestly, she's not even that impressive of a vocalist. Like, I don't think there's that much to her voice that makes her stand out in any way. Why does he keep adding her to his songs? I don't know. Then he has the same song with Kalani. It's just the same song as the 3 previous tracks I've just mentioned, with Kalani on the hook this time. Again, Kalani to me is just like just one of those artists that the industry are just going to push so hard and try to make her the next big thing because of her decent vocals, but there's just nothing here. Alicia Keys, again, the same copy and pasted track with her on the vocals, and to say how good she is as a vocalist, this is really disappointing for her. This is so generic, like in terms of like, this could be anyone on the chorus, and you never get that with Alicia Keys because of how powerful she is as a vocalist, and I just couldn't even care that it was her. Like, what are you doing? Why did you do this to me, Eminem? Of course, the track does take stabs at Donald Trump. He's done this on Untouchable, the lead single, which I thought was dreadful, mostly because of that fucking black boy. Like, it was so corny. Like, you cannot make a serious song and make it sound that messy and all over the place and cringy and corny as fuck. Like, it really was so bad in terms of like mixing a good sounding song with a good message. Even if you disagreed with the lyrics on there, he might have been saying some important things which you could have agreed with, but because of how bad the song sounded, everything just got lost within it. And Like Home is a less messier version of that, but in a bit more of a vanilla way, honestly. Like, there aren't many controversial standout lines. Like, it's just generic, standard stabs at Donald Trump, which may be valid, but because he's just kind of blowing over them, just saying things that don't have much substance to them, it just really goes over your head. And it's a shame, really, because Eminem's usually very lyrical. Like, if that's one thing you can take away from Eminem, he's lyrical, and I'm just not getting much of that on this album. And to finish off the boring, bland guest vocalists doing the hooks on this album, we do have Pink, who is on the track Needed Me, and her first introduction, like, is so long. Like, it goes on for about 2.5 minutes of her just singing. Like, I felt like it just could have ended way before it did. And then, of course, Eminem comes in with his verses, and then she comes back in with the hook. Like, it's, I don't even want to say a hook, because the hooks on this album aren't there at all. Like, they are not there. And the track lyrically isn't that bad, honestly. It makes references to a toxic relationship that's just gone wrong, but then, of course, it's all about, like, needing that person anyway. It's pretty standard stuff, but it's probably one of the better ones written on this album, honestly. But now I need to mention the other part of this album that has these rock songs scattered all over it. What the fuck are they? What are they? Remind Me has I Love Rock and Roll interpolated in the chorus. I love rock and roll, and this guy is like Eminem. Like, this is an Eminem album, and he has that on a song. What are you doing? It's might be the worst song I've heard of the year, honestly. I think this song is terrible. I think that sample is so bad, and Eminem sounds ridiculous rapping over this guitar, guitar sample. Oh my god! And then the chorus is like, "I love you." Like, he's like Neil Cicierega was having a bad day and did a terrible mashup of a song and just left it like as if like it was a good idea. Like, that's what it's like, but Neil Cicierega would never do that. Only Eminem would do that. I couldn't believe the song when I first heard it. We also had the track Believe, which is second on the album, which starts off okay-ish. I'm not really a fan of the instrumental. And then the chorus like comes booming in, like, it's just so out of place. It's like an arena rock track, like fucking Aerosmith would have done this back in the day. It's just so out of place. Like, a lot of these instrumentals feel so out of place. Even like those piano ones, like, I feel like just don't fit Eminem's style all that well. And another track that's completely out of place is the one with Zombie by Cranberries interpolated in it. This is not as bad as the I Love Rock and Roll sample, of course, nothing could be worse than that. But just Zombie by the Cranberries, like, I like that song, but like, what is this doing here? Like, it is just not welcome at all. Like, it just needs to not be here. Heat is another track that has a cringy rock sample. Um, Not really into that. The lyrics here I find so weird. At the same time, they are a bit funny. Like, I don't think he's taking this serious at all. He says ridiculous lyrics on this track about like wanting to have sex with a woman. Like, I don't know. I found some of the lines funny, even though they were awful. Like, it was just really hard to tell if he was taking it serious or not, to be honest. But I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that it was a bit of a joke track. But that line though, where he's like, grab her by the pussy, that's like the only thing I agree with Donald Trump on. I'm sorry, that's just. Well, like, to say so anti Donald Trump and he comes out with a line like that, like, what the fuck is he on about, man? It's kind of funny, it's crude, it's offensive, I guess, of course. But I don't know, I just think this track does appeal to my humour a little bit at points. It's just like that kind of like dark but like ridiculous at the same time. Like, you can't take it seriously. You can't read too much into it. It's just that kind of thing. And he does go into more of that offensive type stuff on the track Offended, where he's talking about like, oh, like, I'm always offending people, like, I've got all these people that always have issues with me and that kind of stuff. This probably could have been done better, I think. Like, I do think it needed a bit more of like just tying up type thing, just a bit like of a tighter knot on the track, I suppose. Just needed that sort of better focus. See, like, it says turds on this song. Like, are you a kid? Like, you just said turds. Like, how can you expect people to take you seriously? And the rest of this album, like, what else is there to say, man? This is just bad. Like, this is really bad. I couldn't believe how bad this was. Like, the singles didn't make me anticipate this album, and then seeing the track list with all the features on it just made me think, okay, we got all these generic radio-friendly tracks that are gonna fill up the album. And they were exactly that. Like, they were exactly what I thought. But then all these, like, rock instrumentals and samples that were just atrocious. Like, honestly, atrocious. Like, some of the worst songs I've heard all this year. Some of the worst I've ever heard Eminem make. I'm just thankful that on the last song, Arose, he's basically like, yeah, I'm hanging it up after this album. I'm retiring, and if he's telling the truth, I hope he is, because he needs to. Honestly, I need Eminem fans to tell me what's good about this, because I just don't see what's good. Like, I just don't. Like, what is good about this album, man? I have nothing to take away apart from, like, maybe Offended, because it isn't that bad. I just think it could have been written a bit better. Castle, I suppose, wasn't too bad either. That's it. That's all I've got. Like, that is it. There are like 15 maybe more tracks on this album. Like, seriously. This is really not good. I was thinking going an F on this album, but like, the radio-friendly tracks aren't like terrible. Like, it's just a bit pretentious to be like, oh, they sound poppy and overproduced, so I don't like them. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So those tracks weren't bad, they just weren't anything close to good. Like, they were just so meh and just didn't stick with you at all, considering how talented the vocalists are, because like, Pink is a great vocalist and that track did nothing for me at all. So I can't really call this an F, because those songs, like I said, aren't terrible. So I guess I'm gonna go E. This is an E. This is a bad album. This is not good. Eminem fans, hate me all you want, but you're gonna really need to step up your game with defending this one, because what is there to take from this album? Seriously. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, of course. Tell me what you thought of this album. If you thought it was as bad as I thought, if you thought it was better than what I thought. Yeah, that's it. Tell me your favourite Eminem album too, and subscribe to the channel for more reviews if you like this one. And have a good day. Have a good day.